Tall ships carrying banners to highlight climate change have sailed into Sydney Harbour in Australia on Saturday. The event was one of just hundreds of protests being planned around the world by the US campaign group 350.org. And the rallies come ahead of a summit on global warming being held in California next week. Here's David Campanale.
The message from Sydney Harbour has echoed in towns and cities around the world as campaigners call for an end to the use of fossil fuels. Australia remains heavily reliant on coal to generate its electricity, despite what activists say is access to abundant sources of cheap renewables. Climate change is of great concern in the Pacific region. This week, Australia and New Zealand joined Pacific nations to declare that climate change is the single greatest threat to island states in the region. But campaigners want Australia to go faster in cutting emissions.
Today, the Australian government has said they are thinking about pulling out of Paris, which means no action on climate change. Today, 350 and groups around the country, 50 events, are demanding that climate action as part of something called Rise for Climate.
In the Thai capital, Bangkok, dozens of labourers and fishermen from the Gulf of Thailand assembled in front of the UN regional headquarters. Their livelihoods are threatened by rising sea levels and coastal erosion caused by climate change. Inside, delegates have been discussing how to implement measures agreed by world powers under the 2015 Paris Climate Agreement. These latest talks aim to create a draft framework for limiting global temperature rises below 2 degrees. Elsewhere, protesters came out onto the streets in Brussels to press the European Union to do what it can. While in Paris and across France, Rise for Action climate activists joined in the march. Despite these global protests, fossil fuel companies say they intend to spend trillions of dollars over the next few decades to extract more carbon, not keep it under the ground as campaigners want. With business continuing as usual, this means the Paris deal will be put on hold. David Campanale, BBC News.